If someone had told me years ago that my wife would one day be my greatest spiritual inspiration, I would have laughed in their face. Sandra and I weren't the type to sit quietly in church pews. We were the life of the party, the couple everyone envied. But what we thought was a dream life was actually a ticking time bomb. Sandra and I met at one of the trendiest nightclubs in Lagos. She was dancing with her friends, her laughter louder than the pounding bass. Confident and radiant, she had a magnetic energy that pulled me in. I approached her, drink in hand, and said, "You look like you own this place." She smirked, "Maybe I do. You buying me a drink or just watching?" That boldness sealed it for me. We spent the night talking, laughing, and dancing. By the time the sun rose, we'd exchanged numbers and made plans to meet again. Our relationship moved fast. We weren't just in love, we were addicted to the thrill of each other. Every weekend was a whirlwind of parties, road trips, and extravagant dinners. Sandra loved being the center of attention, and I loved showing her off. We were unstoppable, or so we thought. I grew up in a strict religious home where rules were more important than relationships. My father was a pastor who believed discipline was love, but to me, it felt suffocating. The moment I left home for university, I swore I'd never live under such constraints again. I wanted freedom. And Sandra. She represented everything I thought I wanted: carefree, glamorous, and untamed. Together, we built a life that screamed independence, but deep down, I was running from the emptiness I'd always felt. Sandra's story was different. Raised by a prayerful mother, she'd been taught about God but drifted away in her teenage years. The allure of parties, popularity, and independence drowned out the voice of faith. Yet, no matter how far she strayed, she couldn't escape the prayers of her mother. Sandra often told me about the nights her mom would kneel by her bedside, praying for her to find her way back to God. What people didn't see were the cracks beneath the surface. Yes, we had money, friends, and fun, but our relationship was shallow. We argued constantly, mostly about finances and my jealousy. Sandra's love for expensive things often left us broke before payday, and I resented how much attention other men gave her. After we got married, the problems only intensified. Instead of addressing our issues, we buried them in more parties, alcohol, and escapades. I remember one evening, early in our relationship, when we drove to a quiet beach just to watch the sunset. Sandra leaned against me, her laughter soft and genuine as we talked about our dreams. "I want to travel the world with you," she said, her eyes sparkling. I squeezed her hand. "You're my world, Sandra." That memory still haunts me, how we went from story-eyed lovers to bitter partners barely holding on. The shift began subtly. After reconnecting with her childhood friend Ada, Sandra attended church for the first time in years. The sermon was on the woman at the well, a story of redemption and grace. Sandra later told me how she'd cried through most of it, feeling like the pastor was speaking directly to her. Over the following weeks, I noticed changes. She started waking up early to pray, carrying a Bible wherever she went, and declining our usual Saturday night outings. At first, I found it amusing. "Look at you, Saint Sandra," I teased. But as her faith grew deeper, my amusement turned to irritation. Determined to snap her out of what I called her church phase, I doubled down on our old lifestyle. I'd blast music while she prayed, mock her devotion in front of friends, and come home drunk on purpose. One night, I invited a group over for a wild party, playing the loudest, raunchiest music I could find. Sandra retreated to our bedroom and prayed. Her quiet strength baffled me. No matter how much I pushed, she never lashed out. The emptiness of my lifestyle began to gnaw at me. I remember sitting alone in a crowded club, drink in hand, while laughter and music filled the air. For the first time, I felt out of place. All I could think about was Sandra, at home, praying for me. Feeling neglected, I sought attention elsewhere. At the club, I met Tosha, a bartender who was flirty, wild, and everything Sandra wasn't anymore. Our conversation started harmlessly, but one night, I found myself standing outside her apartment, torn between temptation and guilt. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sandra, "I'm praying for you. Come home." Those words pierced me. I couldn't go through with it. I left, but the shame of my near betrayal haunted me. Weeks later, I hit rock bottom. After a drunken brawl at the club, I stumbled home, battered and broken. As I entered the house, I heard Sandra's voice. She was crying, her words a desperate plea to God, "Lord, please save Mike. Don't let him destroy himself." Her prayer pierced through my drunken haze. I collapsed at her feet, sobbing. "Sandra, I'm so sorry. I need help." The next Sunday, Sandra took me to church. The sermon was on the prodigal son, and it felt like the pastor was speaking directly to me. When the altar call came, I didn't hesitate. I walked to the front, tears streaming, and surrendered my life to Christ. The journey wasn't easy. I faced temptations to return to my old life, but Sandra stood by me. We attended marriage counseling, prayed together, and joined a Bible study group. Slowly, we rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of faith. Looking back, I've learned some powerful lessons from this journey. 1. Unconditional love. Sandra's unwavering love mirrored Christ's grace. 2. The power of prayer. Her intercession paved the way for my transformation. 3. Faith in action. Sandra lived her faith, which spoke louder than words. 4. Redemption is possible. No one is beyond God's reach. 5. God's timing is perfect. Transformation took time, but it was worth the wait. Today, Sandra and I share our story to inspire others. We've started a ministry for couples, counseling those struggling with addiction, infidelity, or broken relationships. If God can save a broken man like me, He can save anyone. Never give up on the people you love, because with God, nothing is impossible. Thank you for listening to my story. If this testimony has blessed you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who needs it. Stay blessed.